Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the national launch of our 26th annual Project Red Ribbon campaign. For more than a quarter century, MADD Canada's Red Ribbon has been a simple yet powerful symbol of the fight against impaired driving. Every year in the weeks leading up to the holiday season, MADD Canada volunteers go out into the communities to distribute these red ribbons to the public. We give these ribbons to drivers to tie to their cars and to the general public to tie on keychains, purses, briefcases, and backpacks. We want our red ribbons seen everywhere to remind people that it is never acceptable to drive impaired. Every year, between 1,250 and 1,500 people are killed in impaired-related crashes. Another 63,000 are injured. These deaths and injuries are completely preventable. That is why Project Red Ribbon continues to be one of our most important campaign awareness projects. We need to drive home the message that impaired driving can be prevented if everyone makes good, responsible, safe choices. We have some very special guests here today to help us spread that message. And we will also be sharing our newest television PSA called Full Circle with you. To get us started, I would like to extend our thanks to Chief William Blair and the Toronto Police Service for hosting our event. Law enforcement groups are one of our most important partners in our mission to stop impaired driving. Police officers work day in and day out to take impaired drivers off our roads and make our communities safer. They have been tremendous partners on Project Red Ribbon. Over the course of this campaign, MADD Canada chapters and community leaders across the country will partner with their local and regional police at holiday sobriety checkpoints and at community events where they hand out red ribbons and educational materials. MADD Canada is so grateful for the support and involvement of all our police partners across the country. And as president of MADD Toronto chapter, I would like to express our thanks to the Toronto Police Service for their incredible support of the Project Red Ribbon campaign and so many other events throughout the year. I would like to introduce Police Chief William Blair to welcome us to Toronto Police Headquarters and get our event underway.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome the Honourable Glenn Murray, our Minister of Transportation, my colleague and friend, Chief Jim Sales of Toronto Fire Services, another colleague and friend, Chief Superintendent Don Bell of the Ontario Provincial Police, Deputy Chief Cindy Nicholson of the Emergency Medical Services, Miss Angelica Serranis of MADD Canada, our National President, Miss Everilda Nakumar, the MADD Toronto Chapter President, and Miss Lisa McWatt, Director of Brand Innovation for Allstate Insurance. My fellow colleagues in policing, emergency services, community members, welcome to Police Headquarters. It is a great pleasure to have you here this morning, but at the same time, it is always a little sad that this is still a necessary campaign to remind people of the scourge that impaired driving can have and the countless senseless preventable deaths that occur as a result of someone making the choice to drink and drive. The MADD Ribbon campaign each year is a great opportunity for us to remind each other and our citizens of the importance of making the right choice to drive safe and to drive sober. The Red Ribbon campaign also reminds all of our citizens that we all have a responsibility to keep our roads safe, and that when we see someone who is making the wrong choice, choosing to drive in an impaired fashion, either by drugs or alcohol, that we have a responsibility to call 911 and to alert the authorities and give us an opportunity to make our roadways safe and to get that individual off our roads. We have made tremendous progress in the province of Ontario over the past several years in reducing the incidence of impaired driving and fatalities related to impaired driving. But notwithstanding our best efforts, so far this year, Of the 50 traffic fatalities that have occurred in the City of Toronto, 3 of those traffic fatalities were directly related to someone making the choice to drink and to drive. Last year, a similar number of fatalities occurred as a result of people making that bad choice. It's important through the Red Ribbon campaign that we remind our citizens that we all have a collective responsibility to each other's safety. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Angelica Saranis, the National President of MADD Canada, and all of their members for their constant vigilance and dedication to the cause of reducing impaired driving everywhere. Thank you for hosting today's event and for your invitation to attend your annual campaign launch. Our partnership with MADD is one of long-standing, and it is an excellent example of the constructive collaboration each of our organizations can take great pride in. We look forward to continuing to work together to eliminate impaired driving from the streets of Toronto and across the great province of Ontario. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to all my colleagues in community safety and our community partners that are here today for their continued support and commitment to this cause. Together we can make a difference by sending a strong message to our communities that impaired driving will not be tolerated on our roadways. Please remember, everyone, plan ahead, don't drink and drive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Blair. Leadership from lawmakers and governments is crucial to the effort to stop impaired driving. The province of Ontario has been a leader in impaired driving legislation. They were among the first provinces to extend the BAC restriction for young drivers to age 22, and they were among the first to extend the roadside license suspensions for drivers in the Warren Range. We are very honored to have Ontario's Minister of Transportation, the Honourable Glenn Murray, here with us today.
Chief Blair, thank you so much again for hosting us today and for your unwavering support of this campaign. To my friends from the OPP and the EMS and firefighters and the Fire Service Chief Sale, thanks to all of you and thanks to all of the first responders who are present here today for the important work you do every day to save lives and to make a difference and to make this community a safe place for all of us. Part of my job and that of the government and Premier Wynne is to ensure that we have laws that support our police services, our other first responders, and important organizations like MADD in building a civil society we can be proud of where people respect laws and follow laws. We have 7-day vehicle impoundments when drivers blow over the 0.08 drive without a required alcohol ignition interlock device or fail or refuse to comply with a police demand for alcohol or drug testing. Escalating license suspensions and additional sanctions to drivers who blow in the Warren range, which is 0.05 to 0.08. Zero blood alcohol concentration for all drivers aged 21 and under. These tough laws are working. In 2012, just last year, Ontario had the lowest impaired driving offenses rate in Canada, almost 50% lower than the national average. Between 2000 and 2010, the number of drinking and driving fatalities in Ontario fell from 227 to 160. Serious injuries fell from 684 to 296. It is important we continue to lead the way. We have other challenges on the road. I sometimes tease my friends at Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They should set up a subsidiary called Mothers Against Distracted Driving, because as you know, that has emerged as a great challenge and one that this government will be tackling in the coming weeks and months. But you know, it's also, when I'm here, I'm always reminded, my partners served in the military for many years. And we're very close to November 11th. And I know that many of the people here in uniform, many of those serving overseas, put their lives on the line for us every day. And I want to take a moment to thank you, Chief, and to all of our first responders, because You put yourself between bullets and harm's way to protect us. My partner not only served in the Canadian Armed Forces for a long time, but he's an operating room nurse. So he sees the results of what happens when people drive into people or people get killed. And when you've seen a young child, or you've had to be a nurse or a doctor, try to put that child's life back together if possible, or put together a family or friends after you've lost a loved one is almost impossible. And as we approach Christmas, which is a time where people get together and celebrate family and cherish our loved ones, there seems to be no more important message. There's no gift you can give at Christmas that would be a substitute for a lost person. So do not drink and drive. Do not get into a vehicle, and pay careful attention to it. I also want to say something on a personal note, because when you make laws, as we who are legislators do, or having been a mayor, or whether you enforce laws the way that many of the men and women in uniform have to do every day in very difficult circumstances, or our EMS responders who see some of the very difficult situations when trying to get people to hospital and intervene, you have to live in the middle of the law. Those of us who play leadership roles, who make laws, have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. We can't simply talk about drunk driving. We can't simply talk about our behavior. We have to live in the middle of the law. We can't live on the edge of the law. And it is a calling of public service. I've spent most of my life in public service because I believe that a life dedicated to the betterment of others and public good is important. And when you decide to do that, your character is open to public scrutiny, because to get elected and to vote is a right, to hold public office is a privilege. And at this time of year, it is important that all of us, whether we're making laws or the police officers who enforce laws, we have to hold ourselves to a standard where we not merely follow the law, but we are emblematic of the laws that we pass and the laws that we enforce. And Chief, I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, I have met few people in my life that in one person so incredibly, completely, and positively represent the integrity of public service and the values that many of us dedicate our life to. And I want to thank you, not just for your leadership of the police service, but for your leadership in this community. You're a role model for me and for many others, and you have my highest regard and confidence. And thank you very much. God bless. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Minister Murray. We are also very pleased to have representatives from the Ontario Provincial Police here with us. In Ontario, our chapters and community leaders throughout the province work closely with the OPP to spread the message about safe and sober driving. The OPP is committed to making our roads safe from impaired driving, and we are fortunate to have them as one of our most important partners in our Project Red Ribbon campaign. Please join me in welcoming OPP Chief Superintendent Don Bell.
Good morning, Minister, Chief Blair, distinguished colleagues both from the justice sector community and the public in the community. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to participate in the 2013 MADD Red Ribbon campaign. It's always a pleasure to participate in such a partnership involving one of our strongest community partners to educate and create awareness around such an important topic. Impaired drivers are involved in thousands of collisions each year. Drunk driving accounts for almost 25% of all fatalities on Ontario's roads. In 2012, the Ontario Provincial Police investigated 294 fatal motor vehicle collisions, of which 73 were related to alcohol. To date, in 2013, there have been 213 fatal motor vehicle collisions, in which 48 are related to alcohol. The OPP investigated a total of 69,000 collisions in 2012. It was determined that alcohol played a factor in over 1,909 of those collisions. We've investigated over 56,000 collisions this year, and over 1,400 of those have involved alcohol. When are people going to learn? In 2012, we laid over 10,000 impaired driving charges. We have to remember driving is about making choices. We have to start making the right choices. Campaigns such as this involve an integral partnership between MADD, the community, and the police to create awareness to stop the tragedies that are occurring on our highways across the province. Irresponsible choices such as this cannot be tolerated. We have to work together. We have to work with our vulnerable groups, our youth and our elderly, and those around my age group that continue to make the wrong choices and put all of us in harm's way. It's through campaigns such as this that we can continue to educate and spread the good word to prevent some of these tragic losses. MADD Canada partners with police agencies across the country to assist to take impaired drivers off the road. The MADD public awareness initiatives encourage people to report suspected impaired drivers. When you see an impaired driver, pick up the phone, call 911, and let the police know so we can respond and take the appropriate action. We want to enable citizens to play a vital role and assist the police in identifying and stopping suspected impaired drivers. It's an effective way for the community and the police to work together to prevent impaired driving. I congratulate MADD Canada for helping to change the cultural perception and make people understand that drinking and driving is not acceptable. In fact, it's just disgusting. Driving while under the influence of alcohol or other drugs is a terrible crime that touches all of our lives. It's an irresponsible, dangerous, and intolerable act. The OPP is setting the bar high, ramping up our enforcement efforts to put a stop to all high-risk driving behaviors. When it comes to safe driving habits, I know I can count on drivers to set the bar equally high so that together we can make a difference and we can save lives on Ontario's highways. The OPP is committed to reducing the number of persons killed or injured due to alcohol-related deaths and making Ontario's highways safer. The OPP will continue to do their part to remove impaired drivers. MADD's doing their part. We ask you to do your part. Let's work together to make this a happy and festive holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Superintendent Bell. I am now pleased to welcome MADD Canada's National President, Angeliki Suranis. Angeliki became involved with MADD Canada after the death of her son, Craig, in an alcohol-related crash. She has served as the President of Montreal Chapter and as the Director for the Quebec region on the MADD Canada National Board of Directors. She took on the National President role in September. Please join me in welcoming Angeliki.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here today with our partners, sponsors, and guests. I have the honor of introducing our new public service announcement, which is called Full Circle. It is a simple yet powerful 30-second ad that reminds people how quickly and how permanently lives can change when someone makes the awful decision to drive impaired. Let's take a look at it now.
From ashes to ashes, from dust to dust, so it must be of our darkest nights, the comfort at times like these.
We are pleased to share this PSA with you today. It is, I believe, a very effective illustration of just how quickly a single decision can lead to tragedy. No one ever intends for it to happen. No driver gets into their car after having some drinks and thinks they may cause a crash. They don't think they're going to injure or kill someone, and yet it happens. It happens tens of thousands of times every year. Between 1,250 and 1,500 people are killed in impairment-related crashes annually, and another 63,000 are injured. These crashes have two things in common. First, they are completely 100% preventable. And secondly, no one is ever prepared for them. In my professional life, I am a social worker at Montreal Children's Hospital. I have a specialty in trauma, and I help children and their families as they try to cope with loss and injury. Even with my 27 years of experience in that role, I was not prepared for the grief that came after my son Craig was killed in an impairment-related road crash in 2008. I wish I could adequately convey the impact his death has had on his family. We are forever changed. One of us is missing, and we can never again be whole. His loss is senseless. Every single life lost and every single injury caused by impaired driving is senseless. This is a preventable crime, and these are preventable tragedies. That is why Project Red Ribbon continues to be one of our most important campaigns. We need to drive home the message to all Canadians that impaired driving can be prevented if everyone makes appropriate, responsible, and safe choices. MADD Canada's Red Ribbon is a symbol of the ongoing effort to stop impaired driving, and it is a tribute to victims who have been killed or injured in impaired driving crashes. From now until January, our volunteers and supporters will be out in force, asking you to tie on a red ribbon and make a commitment to yourself, your family, and your community. Project Red Ribbon targets the Christmas and New Year holiday season because it's one of the busiest times on our social calendars. That means it's also a time of increased risk for impaired driving. MADD Canada and all our partners and supporters here today want to remind all Canadians that you can prevent tragedies from happening on our roads and highways this holiday season. Plan ahead when you know you'll be drinking. Take a cab or a bus. Arrange a designated driver or plan to stay over. Never drive impaired or ride with an impaired driver. And if you see a driver you suspect is impaired, call 911 to report it to police. The call you make could save a life. We all have the power to stop this senseless crime. Everyone can take a stand against impaired driving. With all of us working together, we can make our roads and communities safe from impaired driving this holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Angeliki. Project Red Ribbon and other campaigns are all geared towards preventing impaired driving. And we know these messages hit home with so many people. Yet, there are still some people who continue to drive impaired. And when those drivers cause crashes, it is our emergency responders who are among the first on the scene. These professionals see the devastation caused by impaired driving every day. And that is why they are among our biggest supporters and partners in this effort. We are honored to have representatives from Toronto's Fire Department and Emergency Medical Services with us today. Please join me in welcoming Chief Jim Sales to say a few words on behalf of Toronto Fire Services.
Minister Murray, Chief Blair, distinguished representatives of all emergency services, ladies and gentlemen. The Toronto Fire Services responds to vehicle crashes on provincial highways and city streets, unfortunately, on a very regular basis. We're too familiar with firefighters arriving at the scene of a crash and witnessing countless innocent victims of drivers that have been drinking before putting the key in ignition. The results of their actions lead to the pain and suffering of so many families today. The message of driving only when sober must be consistently given as impaired drivers continue to cause crashes. The men and women of the Toronto Fire Service and all emergency services know what it's like to fall victim to those who have chosen to drink and drive. We also know the heartache and pain the families of individuals who have lost their loved ones must endure. It's important to acknowledge the organization of MADD Canada for their valuable contribution to raising awareness of the devastation caused by drivers who are impaired and the need for everyone to drive sober and safely. The message of MADD Canada is critical and imperative. If the loss of life and the crippling injuries are to be stopped, we must educate those who the privilege of driving. We need to have people speak out about the drinking and driving. Ontario has some of the strictest rules and laws in the world for driving under the influence, including suspensions for young and novice drivers who have any alcohol in their blood. However, we must strive for a zero tolerance regarding impairment behind the wheel for all drivers. It's imperative we continue to support the strategic directions and plans of MADD Canada and other victim support and outreaches in the community. It's critical that we do everything we can to stop impaired driving, and we continue to educate and increase the awareness caused by individuals who drive while impaired. We must work with the youth of our community, ensure they're aware they can't drive and drink, and educate them about the consequences of doing so. It's sad at the legislative level that MADD Canada's message must ultimately be heard. I believe that zero tolerance within the graduated licensing framework is an excellent initiative and proof that progress is being made. As the fire chief with the Toronto Fire Service and speaking on behalf of all our firefighters, we support the efforts of Mothers Against Drunk Driving through the Project Red Ribbon campaign, and I encourage all fire staff and everyone else to support sober driving by tying a red ribbon to a visible spot in your vehicle in an effort to pledge a commitment for all of us to drive safe and sober. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Sales. Emergency medical services are also key partners in helping us spread this message about the importance of driving sober. Please welcome Deputy Chief Cindy Nicholson on behalf of Toronto's Emergency Medical Services.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister of Transportation Glenn Murray, Chief Blair, my fellow emergency services colleagues and members of the national and Toronto chapters of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It is my pleasure to be here on behalf of Chief Paul Raftis and the men and women of the Toronto Emergency Medical Services in support of the MADD Red Ribbon campaign. As paramedics and emergency medical dispatchers, we see the devastation and the tragedy that drinking and driving can cause much too frequently. The effects can be life-altering, and we want to lend Toronto EMS's voice to this tremendous cause. Toronto EMS supports the campaign in a very tangible way. Every year, Toronto EMS ambulances place a MADD Red Ribbon on our vehicle antennas to support this initiative. We hope this contribution helps to build awareness and is an important reminder to the community to never drink and drive. I wish you great success on this year's campaign and congratulate the tireless efforts of the MADD organization and its many volunteers for the awareness they bring not only to the City of Toronto, but to the country at large of this very important issue. By working together to support this great cause, hopefully one day we can eliminate the devastating results of drinking and driving. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Nicholson. MADD Canada is fortunate to have many organizations and businesses that are very committed to supporting us and our mission. Key among these sponsors is Allstate Insurance Company of Canada. 26 years ago, Allstate Insurance Company of Canada became one of our very first sponsors for the Project Red Ribbon campaign. They have been one of our most valued partners ever since. Allstate Canada has supported all of our education and awareness campaigns over the years, and their agents are very involved at the local level. They work with our chapters and community leaders to distribute red ribbons and share the sober driving message in communities all across the country. Please join me in welcoming Lisa McWatt, the Director of Brand Innovation for Allstate Insurance Company of Canada.
Good morning. I'd like to thank our friends at MADD for having me here today for the launch of Project Red Ribbon. This iconic program has helped many Canadians make Canadian roads safer and raised a tremendous amount of awareness among drivers about making the right choices when it comes to driving after they've consumed alcohol. It's an important message that needs to remain top of mind for everyone this holiday season. Many of us gathered here today come from different backgrounds and work in different professions, but a common thread among all of us is our desire to eliminate impaired driving from our communities. It's a goal Allstate believes in, and we proudly work with MADD on several initiatives because it's something we believe that should be important to every Canadian. The idea of community service is central to Allstate's identity. It's as much a part of the Good Hands logo. Our job as an insurer is to help people. It's a promise we make to our customers, and it's something that goes into how we incorporate ourselves into the communities that we live and work. Like MADD Canada, Allstate believes in making our communities safer places for everyone. Working with MADD allows us to see firsthand the impact we can have on our neighborhoods, because we can directly see the progress and positive change that comes from the work MADD does. Wanting to help spread the message of sober driving and making our community safer is why you'll find people at the Allstate Red Ribbon launches throughout the holiday season, at Campaign 911 launches in the spring, and supporting MADD fundraisers like Strides for Change during the summer. MADD Canada also assumes tremendous leadership and mentorship roles in the community. Working with MADD gives us the opportunities to be in situations where we can be mentors and leaders, as well as providing strength, experience, and care, not only to our customers, but everyone we interact with, which is important because this value is part of our corporate mission. In addition to participating in events like this one, we relish the opportunity to participate with MADD in bringing the message of safe, sober driving to the youth in our communities. As an insurance company, we have a unique perspective on what happens to people after an impaired driving crash. The police and emergency responders and MADD volunteers with us today do a lot of the heavy lifting in the aftermath of an impaired driving crash. But it's important to share what we know and experience as well. And we get a chance to do this every fall when MADD rolls out the school assembly program across Canada. I say all of this to highlight the point that this isn't just a sponsorship for us. Our relationship with MADD is something that's woven into the fabric of who we are at Allstate Canada, and we're honored to help spread the message of safe, sober driving this holiday season. I want to encourage everyone to do their part in continuing to spread the message that the red ribbon represents, and to ensure that it is present as a reminder of how important it is to always drive safe and sober during the holiday season and throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you to all our speakers and special guests for their participation and support today. As we come together to launch Project Red Ribbon, we do so in memory of all those who have been killed and injured as a result of impaired driving. And we do so in the hopes that our efforts will save lives and prevent injuries on our roads this holiday season. I encourage everyone to get their red ribbons today, and get some for your families and friends too. You can get them from us here today or from your local chapters or community leaders across Canada. You can also visit our website at www.madd.ca for a list of retailers who are carrying our red ribbons and our coin boxes. Let's make sure the red ribbon is visible all holiday season long. I'd also like to mention some other events happening here in Toronto to help us raise even more awareness about the dangers of impaired driving. This evening, for those of you who would still be in the downtown area, take a moment and check out the CN Tower if you can. Toronto's best-known landmark will be lit up in red to mark this year's Project Red Ribbon campaign. This Friday, November 8th, MADD Toronto chapter will be hosting a Choose Your Ride event at Yonge Dundas Square to encourage the public to plan ahead and choose a safe and sober ride home, or else they could have the choice made for them. We'll be at Dundas Square from noon to 2 p.m. along with the Toronto Transit Commission, Toronto Police, Fire and EMS Services, and co-op cabs. And later this month, from November 8th to the 22nd, our volunteers will be at subway stations in Toronto handing out red ribbons to support Project Red Ribbon and other MADD Canada programs in Toronto. And finally, we're now going to ask our speakers to take part in the ribbon cutting ceremony to officially launch our 2013 campaign. Can all the speakers join us in front of the memorial wall for the red ribbon cutting ceremony? After that, we will make our way outside to tie our red ribbons on the police, fire, and emergency vehicles that have been assembled. Thank you.